My husband's mistress didn't just send me proof of the affair, she sent me her business card. It was 11:47 p.m. on a humid Tuesday night when my entire life imploded with a single aggressive vibration on the nightstand. I was lying in bed, wearing one of Trevor's old oversized t-shirts, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above me. The house was quiet, that deep, suffocating silence of the suburbs that I used to mistake for peace. Trevor wasn't there. He had told me earlier that evening, voice smooth as silk, that he was pulling an all-nighter at the firm for the Henderson account. I believed him because for 10 years, I had made a full-time career out of believing him. I trusted him with my heart, my finances, and my future. Then my phone lit up, cutting through the darkness of the bedroom. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, assuming it was a spam caller or a wrong number. But a strange knot tightened in my stomach, an instinct primal and terrifying that I couldn't explain. I reached out, my fingers trembling slightly, and slid my thumb across the screen. It was a photo. Crystal clear, high definition, undeniable. My husband Trevor, sitting at a corner booth in a dimly lit bar I didn't recognize. He was leaning in close, kissing a woman in a navy blue dress. His hand was resting familiarly on the back of her neck, a gesture he hadn't used with me in years. The timestamp on the photo was from 20 minutes ago. My breath caught in my throat, a sharp, physical pain in my chest. My hand started shaking so violently I almost dropped the phone onto the duvet. Before I could even process the image, a second text came through. "He isn't working late, Madison." Then a third, striking faster than my heartbeat. "He's been lying to both of us for 6 months." And finally, the message that changed the trajectory of my entire existence. "My name is Rachel Montgomery, and I am a family law attorney. I suggest you meet me at the Grind Coffee Shop on 4th Street tomorrow at 8 a.m. Come alone and bring your husband's credit card statements." I stared at the screen until the light blurred into a headache. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I lay there frozen, feeling the ghost of my marriage dissolving around me like smoke. Trevor came home at 3:15 a.m. I heard his key turn in the lock, the soft click of the door closing. He smelled of mint gum and expensive cologne, attempting to mask the scent of betrayal. He kissed my forehead, mumbled about work being absolute hell, and fell asleep instantly. I looked at him, really looked at him in the pale moonlight. I realized I was sleeping next to a stranger who wore my husband's face. The next morning, the sun rose, but my world remained dark. I was sitting at the Grind at 7:55 a.m., clutching a coffee cup I hadn't taken a sip of. Rachel walked in at exactly Ulri. She wasn't what I expected. I expected someone messy, someone chaotic. Instead, she was sharp, professional, wearing a tailored navy suit that cost more than my first car. She didn't look like a homewrecker. She looked like a CEO who was about to acquire a failing company. She sat down opposite me, didn't offer a handshake, and slid a thick manila folder across the table. "I didn't know he was married until last week," she said, her voice clipped and cold. "He told me he was a widower." I felt the blood drain from my face, leaving me lightheaded. "A widower," I whispered, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "Yes," Rachel continued, opening the folder with precise movements. "He told me his wife died of ovarian cancer 2 years ago. He said he was finally ready to move on, but he needed to take it slow. He played the grieving survivor perfectly, Madison." She pointed to a stack of printed emails and screenshots. "Then I found your Instagram account. I saw the anniversary post from last month where you called him your soulmate. I saw the photos of your vacation in Cabo, sipping margaritas on the beach." Rachel looked me dead in the eye, her gaze unflinching. "I don't like being played, Madison, and I assume you don't either." I took a sip of black coffee, just to keep from screaming in the middle of the crowded shop. "So what is this?" I asked, gesturing weakly to the folder. "An apology tour." Rachel smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "No, this is a consultation. I'm the best divorce attorney in the city, and I charge $600 an hour. But for you, I'm going to work for free. On one condition." I leaned in, desperate for a lifeline. "What condition?" "We don't just divorce him," she said, her voice lowering to a dangerous whisper. "We destroy him. We take the house, the savings, the retirement, and everything he's tried to hide. I know where the bodies are buried because he bragged about them to me in bed." I sat back, my mind racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. This was insane. This was the woman sleeping with my husband, the woman who had technically ruined my marriage. But looking at the evidence spread across the table, I realized something crucial. She was the only person in the world who hated him as much as I did right now, and she had the skills to do something about it. "Okay," I said, my voice steadying. "Where do we start?" Rachel pulled out a pen and flipped to a fresh page in her notebook. "Phase 1 is what I call the masquerade. You are going to go home, and you are going to be the perfect wife. You cook his favorite meals. You ask about his day with a smile. You do not let slip even a hint that you know about me or the lies. We need time to move assets and secure evidence before he knows the war has started." For the next 3 weeks, I gave the acting performance of a lifetime. Every evening, Trevor would come home, and I would smile. I would kiss the cheek of the man who had declared me dead to another woman. Inside, I was screaming, my insides twisting with rage. Outside, I was making roast chicken and pouring him wine. "How was work, honey?" I would ask. "Exhausting," he would reply, lying effortlessly. "But I'm doing it for us." While he showered, washing away the scent of his other life, I was going through his briefcase. While he slept, snoring softly beside me, I was photographing documents with my phone. Rachel and I met in secret every Tuesday and Thursday. We turned my guest room into a war room when he was at work. "Look at this," Rachel said one afternoon, pointing to a bank statement I had swiped from his study. "A recurring transfer of $500 to an LLC called Blue Horizon." "Do you know what Blue Horizon is?" "No," I said, squinting at the paper. "We don't have an LLC. We file jointly." Rachel typed furiously on her laptop, her fingers flying across the keys. "Exactly. It's a shell company registered in Delaware. He's been siphoning marital funds into a separate account for 3 years. That's nearly $18,000 just in this one stream." I felt sick. We had skipped vacations to save money. I had driven my old car for 2 extra years to be responsible. And he was stealing from us. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Rachel hired a forensic accountant, a guy named Marcus who looked like a hacker and spoke in algorithms. Marcus dug deeper than I ever could have. He found the crypto wallets. Trevor had been buying Bitcoin and Ethereum since 2019 using our joint savings. He was hiding the private keys in a digital vault encrypted under his mother's maiden name. "This is financial infidelity," Rachel explained, her eyes gleaming. "And in this state, judges hate financial infidelity more than they hate adultery. We have him on the ropes, Madison, but we need the knockout punch." That punch came from a private investigator Rachel had put on Trevor's tail. I thought I knew the worst of it. I thought the affair and the stolen money were the bottom of the barrel. I was wrong. Rachel called me to her office on a rainy Friday afternoon. The sky outside was gray and weeping, matching my mood. She didn't ask me to sit down. She just handed me a report bound in black plastic. "Read page 4, she said softly. I flipped the page, my hands cold. It was a copy of a birth certificate. Name of child, Tyler James Peterson. Date of birth, June 14th, 2008. Father, Trevor Peterson. Mother, Patricia Manning. I stopped breathing. The room spun. Tyler was 15 years old. Trevor and I had been married for 10 years. This boy was born 5 years before we met. He has a son. I choked out, the words scraping my throat. He has a secret family, Rachel corrected, her voice gentle but firm. He pays child support in cash to keep it off the books. He visits them once a month, telling you he's on a business trip to Atlanta. Patricia thinks he's a traveling consultant who lives out of a suitcase. She doesn't know you exist either. I collapsed into the leather chair, feeling small and fragile. The betrayal wasn't just a fling or a midlife crisis. My entire marriage was a lie constructed on a foundation of omission. He had deprived me of the choice to be a stepmother. He had deprived his son of a present father. He had curated separate lives like exhibits in a museum, visiting them whenever it suited his ego. I thought about all the times we tried to have kids, the doctor's visits, the negative tests. He had stood there holding my hand, pretending to be sad. All while he had a son, he was hiding from the world. "This is it," I said, my voice trembling with a rage I didn't know I possessed. "I'm done acting. I want to burn it down. I want him to lose everything." Rachel nodded, a fierce look in her eyes. "Then let's light the match. We serve him tomorrow, but we don't do it at home in private. We do it where it hurts him the most." The next day was the annual gala for Trevor's firm. He was up for a senior partnership. He was wearing a tuxedo, looking handsome and charming, holding court with the senior partners. I was by his side, wearing a red dress, smiling like the trophy wife he wanted me to be. My heart was pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Rachel had arranged for the process server to arrive at 8:30 p.m., right before the keynote speeches. I saw the man walk in through the double doors. He wasn't dressed for a gala. He was in a windbreaker and jeans. He walked straight up to Trevor, interrupting a conversation with the managing partner. "Trevor Peterson," the man asked loudly, his voice cutting through the chatter. "Yes." Trevor looked annoyed, swirling his scotch. "Can I help you?" "You've been served." The man slapped the thick envelope into Trevor's chest. The room went silent. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Trevor looked at the papers, then at me. Confusion morphed into panic, then into fury. "Madison, what is this?" he hissed, grabbing my arm. I pulled away, took a sip of my champagne, and looked him dead in the eye. "It's the truth, Trevor. I know about Rachel. I know about the crypto wallets. And I know about Tyler." The color drained from his face so fast he looked like a corpse. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. "I suggest you call a lawyer," I said, loud enough for his boss to hear clearly. "Because I already have one." I turned around and walked out of the ballroom, leaving him standing in the wreckage of his reputation. I checked into a hotel suite that Rachel had booked for me. I didn't cry. I ordered a steak from room service and watched a documentary about lions hunting on the Serengeti. I felt like the lion. The divorce proceedings were brutal and dragged on for months. Trevor hired a pitbull attorney named Robert Chen who tried to intimidate us. He claimed I had hacked his accounts illegally. He claimed the crypto was premarital assets even though we had proof of the dates. He tried to gaslight me into a settlement just to make it go away. Trevor offers you the car and $50,000, Chen said in our first mediation session. And he wants a strict non-disclosure agreement regarding his son. Rachel laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound that echoed in the conference room. Mr. Chen, she said, leaning forward across the mahogany table. We aren't here to negotiate for crumbs. We want the house. We want 70% of the liquid assets, including the crypto wallets. We want full repayment of the $18,000 diverted to Blue Horizon. And regarding the non-disclosure agreement. No, Trevor slammed his hand on the table, his face turning red. You can't do that. My reputation will be ruined. I looked at him, really looked at the man I had vowed to love forever. Your reputation is a mirror of your character, Trevor, I said calmly. If you didn't want it ruined, you shouldn't have been a liar. Rachel pulled out her ace card from her briefcase. We are also prepared to subpoena Patricia Manning, she said, checking her nails. I spoke with her yesterday. She is very eager to discuss the backdated child support you owe her based on your real income, not the fake income you reported to the family court in 2008. If we go to trial, Trevor, you won't just lose your wife. You might go to jail for fraud. The silence in the room was heavy and suffocating. Trevor looked at his lawyer, panic in his eyes. Chen closed his folder and sighed, realizing he was outmatched. We need a moment. 10 minutes later, they caved. We got everything. The house, the majority of the assets, and no NDA. I was free to tell my story to anyone who would listen. The day we signed the final decree, Trevor looked 10 years older. He wouldn't look at me. He wouldn't look at Rachel, who was sitting next to me, impeccably dressed and smiling. As we were leaving the courthouse, stepping out into the sunlight, Trevor stopped me. Was it worth it? He asked, his voice bitter and broken. You destroyed everything we built. I didn't destroy anything, Trevor, I replied, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I just turned on the lights. You were the one living in the dark. I walked away and didn't look back, but the story didn't end there. There was one final piece of business to conclude. Rachel sent me her invoice via email. I opened it, expecting a bill for tens of thousands of dollars. She was the best lawyer in the city, after all. The total due was $1. I called her immediately. Rachel, I can't accept this. You worked hundreds of hours. Madison, she cut me off, her tone warm. This wasn't business. This was penance. I needed to fix the mess I helped create. Besides, she laughed, seeing his face when he realized I was your lawyer. That was worth $1 million. I paid the dollar. And then I invited her to dinner to celebrate. It's been 2 years since the divorce was finalized. Life looks very different now. I sold the big house in the suburbs. It held too many memories of a life that wasn't real. I bought a sleek condo downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the skyline. I used the settlement money to start my own interior design firm. It was something Trevor had always told me was just a hobby and wouldn't make money. It turns out I have a knack for seeing the potential in broken spaces. My business is thriving. I reconnected with myself. I started running again. I took pottery classes. I traveled to Italy alone and ate pasta until I couldn't move. And I reached out to Tyler. That was the hardest part of the healing process. I sent a letter to Patricia first, explaining everything. I apologized for the years I unknowingly participated in his absence. She was gracious, surprisingly so. She allowed me to meet Tyler at a park. He's a good kid, quiet, observant, with his father's eyes but none of his deceit. We aren't family, not really. But we are connected by the shared trauma of the same man. Sometimes that's a bond stronger than blood. I help pay for his coding camp now.
It's my way of balancing the scales.
As for Trevor, I ran into him at the grocery store last month. It's a cliche, I know. He was pushing a cart filled with diapers and formula. He looked exhausted. His hair was thinning and he had gained weight. Walking beside him was a young woman, maybe 25. She looked stressed and unhappy, snapping at him about the price of organic milk. He looked up and saw me. I was wearing my running gear, glowing from a workout. I was holding a basket with a bottle of wine and fresh salmon. I looked happy, because I was happy. Our eyes met for a split second across the aisle. I saw regret. I saw envy. He opened his mouth to say something, maybe hello, maybe sorry, but I just smiled. A polite, distant smile you give to a stranger. And I kept walking. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel the need for revenge. My revenge was my peace. My revenge was the fact that I knew exactly where my money was. My revenge was sleeping soundly at night without wondering whose text message was vibrating on the nightstand. That evening, I met Rachel for drinks at our favorite rooftop bar. She's one of my closest friends now. People think it's weird. How can you be friends with the mistress? They ask. They don't get it. She wasn't the villain in my story. She was the catalyst. She was the wake-up call I desperately needed. We sat on the patio, clinking our glasses as the sun went down. To freedom, Rachel said, raising her glass. To the truth, I replied. We drank and we laughed, talking about business, about dating, about the future. We never talk about Trevor anymore. He is a footnote in the history books of our lives, a lesson learned the hard way. If there is one thing I want you to take away from my story, it is this. Trust your gut. If you feel like something is wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore the red flags just because they are painted in a shade of red you have grown comfortable with. And never, ever underestimate the power of a woman who has been lied to. We are detectives. We are strategists. And when we team up, we are unstoppable. I thought losing my marriage was the end of my world, but standing here today, in my own home, with my own money and my own truth, I realize it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The text message at 11:47 p.m. didn't destroy my life. It saved it. Because sometimes you have to lose the life you thought you wanted to find the life you actually deserved. And let me tell you, the view from here is spectacular. So to the women out there who are suspicious, who are scared, who are holding their breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop, exhale. Find your proof. Find your allies. And don't just get mad. Get everything. Because the best revenge isn't keying his car or screaming in the street. The best revenge is living so well that his memory fades into nothingness. While you shine brighter than ever before, my name is Madison. I am divorced. I am wealthy. I am free. And I have never been better.